Okay, good morning. Good morning, everyone online. And we're going to start a new series today. And the guys are going to come back and sing some more. But I want to just introduce. And I'll tell you the reason that I wanted to do this series is I wanted to do this because I guess the more I think about it, I think the problems that we have in our life, if you trace them down to the root. So when we're young, you know, we don't trace our problems to the root. So we fix the symptoms to our problems, but we don't fix the actual problem. Who's ever done this before, right? So you put a Band-Aid on something. When I was young, I got in a motorcycle accident. My dad bought a new motorcycle, and he wanted me to drive it. And so he's like, "Hey, Chris, go with me to pick up the motorcycle." And so I did, and then he's like, "Well, why don't you be the first to drive it?" And I was like, "No, Dad, I'll take the van home. You drive the." He goes, "No, I want you to be the first one to drive it." And so I was, and I got it into third gear, and then the wheel locked up, and I, was tumbling in the road and everything, and I had a pretty good sized hole in my foot and my knee. And, after my dad caught up with me, I was running through the cornfields and everything. You know how you do when you get hurt and you just try the pain? So I got back, and then I put a Band-Aid on it, Not good enough. A friend of mine was a medic in the military, and I was sitting in his house, and he's like, that's getting infected. That's the Band-Aid's not going to do. You got to go back and get this thing thoroughly cleaned out. And I cried like a baby and said, "No, I don't want to." But I had to go in, and they had to scrub. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Hold on to something. We're gonna have to scrub this thing out. We got to get down to the root. So, the root of our problem, not the symptoms. So, who here has problems? And we want to get rid of our problems. So if I offer this to you, I just want you to think about it. The root of our problems can almost always be traced back to fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety. You say, "Oh, no, that's not my problem. My problem is my wife. She is my problem. My problem is my kid. My problem is my boss." We have these very shallow definitions of our problem. But all you have to do is ask yourself about 3 or 4 questions. 3 or 4 questions. And you'll start to get closer to what the problem is. And it's almost always anxiety. I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know what him not doing good in school is going to do to him. I don't know if he's out running around, what it's going to do to me, what it's going to do to our family. And we're almost always caught up in projecting. See? Matthew's gospel, as the guy sang about the storm, it tells a story where Christ is walking on the water. The disciples are in a boat. They're straining at the oars. Matthew chapter 14, it talks about there that he comes walking to them on the water, and Peter says to Jesus, "Tell me to come. Tell me to come." And he takes a step out of the boat, and when he steps out of the boat, he walked on the water, and he came towards Christ, right? He walks on the water. And this is the step. But then he gets afraid. He starts to see the wind and the waves. And what does it say? He was afraid. Everybody say it together. He was afraid. There's Jesus. If there's ever a time in your life not to be afraid, it's when? It's right then. But the key is what you focus on. See, this is the key. This is the key to... You could focus on Christ, who you just watched walk across the water. That'd be something good to focus on. But instead, you focus on the waves. And then you start to think about what's happening. And each step, right, the only thing that Peter really needed to worry about was the next, what? Just the next step. But he started to think about, well, what happens? How am I going to get across the lake? And what about this wind? What about the waves? And you and I get the same choice every single day in our life, every single day. Say, no, Chris, you don't understand my problems. I don't. But I do understand your choice. You focus on that and build the fear and the anxiety. All it takes you is 2 or 3 follow-up questions. Why am I worried? Why am I upset? Why am I afraid? I'm afraid this is going to happen. I'm afraid that's going to happen. Peter started to get all these things in his head, and all he had to do was just change his focus. That's it. I think maybe there's something in the story about, maybe it's not the miracle of the walking on the water. Maybe it's the stupidity of sitting in the boat. Maybe that's the story. We get fixated on it's a miracle that he could walk on water, but maybe we should focus on it's really stupid to stay in your boat. Maybe you could think about get a little bunkered in life. Hunkered down in the boat. Like this is the place to be. This is the smart place to be. I got to get a good education and just get down in the boat. Isn't that what we teach each other? Don't go out there. Don't try the new, because it's not safe out there. I think maybe it's a story about we're trusting in the wrong stuff. We think the boat is solid. And really, the step of faith is what's solid. Anybody do this like me? Like we as humans, we have these bunkers that we get in. One of the bunkers is the facade that we project. You know what I'm talking about, the facade that we project? It's like you put out there. This is who you project to be. And I've told you this before, but it really messes with you when you're young and you're a pastor and people start referring to you as pastor, or should I call you reverend, or do you like father, or and it kind of messes with you because you don't see yourself. Are you with me? But this is what we do. We project some image of ourselves. I'm a college graduate. I'm a scholar. I am a doctor. I'm this. And you project it. And the reality is who you are here. But after a while, you have to project. You protect what you project. You protect it. And when it starts to get shaken a bit, you get nervous. You get a little nervous. It could be just that you're a good girl. You're the good girl. And that's your thing. And everybody, she's such a good girl. You know what I mean? And on the inside, meh. And something shakes it a bit, something gets found, and then and it's okay. First thing, who you are in here is okay. We got to start there. That's good. And all the fear and the anxiety is when people start getting past the facade, and you do everything you can to stay hunkered in the boat. And maybe the story is it's okay to get out of that boat. It's okay. Yes, it's unfamiliar. Yes, but if you get past it, there's so much ahead for you. You remember when Jesus taught the prayer, give us this day our annual bread. Right? Give us this day our daily bread. This is, what's the prayer? Stay focused in, this is gold. This is gold. This is everything. Just this step right here. You know what's the most important step in your life? The one right in front of you. All of your problems are worrying about step 8, 9, and 20. That's all your problems. I mean, are you okay right now? You're okay. And if you say no, your head goes, no, you're thinking about something somewhere between 5 hours and 50 days from now. Are you okay? Yeah, just take a step. Think about the most traumatic experience in your life. Think about the most difficult, dark days of your life. And when you got rattled the most, you were projecting out 3 weeks from now. What's going to happen 2 years from now? How will I ever live without this person? How will I ever do? Right? But if you could just stay focused on this right here. For Peter, the first step worked. It worked. All he had to do was just repeat. Take the step and then repeat. Do you know when Jesus says, give us this day our daily bread? It's right after thy, what? Kingdom come. This is key. This is key. The kingdom comes, the big mountain. That's the Everest. The daily bread is a little step. How do you get to the Everest? You do the daily thing, the daily bread. That's the key to life. Don't worry about the mountain. Yeah, you pray, thy kingdom come. You pray for the big thing. That you're marching somewhere. But the only thing you really got to do is just daily bread, daily step. You can do that. And here's the other thing. Then you can find happiness in every single day of your life. Every single step. We really get messed up by fear and anxiety because what happens to us is we step outside of today. We step outside of the moment. Peter was there with Jesus. Stay in the moment. You're right there. This can work. Think about when you get overwhelmed, you just back up and say, can I just take this step right here? This morning, Charlie woke up and she's out the side of her, crib. She's saying, Dada, Dada. Like, let's get her done. And I wasn't even coherent. And, but, the guys came over and spent the night last night. So Sam was very close. He was sleeping right there around the corner. And so he ran in there and he said, do you want to get out? He's leaning over the crib, and she goes, yes. I think to quote, that's how I start the day, Uncle Sam. I get out. He was like wondering, what kind of a question is that? Do you want to get out? That's how the day starts. Do you want to get out of the boat? Or you want to stay in there? It's safer in here. You want to get out? Yes, you do. And then you just take one step. That's all you got to do. Life's so easy when you just take it one step. And then it's so enjoyable. You ever been around somebody that's just hard to be around? Man, it's no fun. And you're like, well, we're here, we're with each other, but they're always in Thursday. You ever sit down with somebody and they're always lost in Thursday? Right here, you can enjoy it. Just take this step. The great gold that Jesus taught. Some people call him a wisdom teacher, like an ancient wisdom teacher, because of all these little pithy sayings that he would come up with. And I think that's so true, because if you could just hold on to this little piece of gold the rest of your life, give me today my daily bread. Help me with this little step right here. That'll do. Just one step. People are always taking their problems and magnifying them, and they're really actually quite simple. Fear and anxiety. Take it back. The next verse, of course, Peter starts to drown. Verse 31, he starts to sink, and he cries out, right? And Jesus does what? What does he do? Catches him. This is key. First of all, baby steps. They're wobbly. Aren't they wobbly? And this is how we walk. We wobble. We stumble, we fall. I should bring Charlie up here as a living example. She is a walking bruise. Right? I mean, you just go to her legs, like, do you guys beat her? No, I don't even know where they come from, but they're just bruise, because we're wobbly. This is good. We're just like that. We stumble, we hit our shins, we mess up. That's the only way to do it. Ready? That's the only way to do it. You can't do it perfectly. That's the only way. You just get up and you bump into things. You fall and you trip and you get back up. And it's wobbly. Peter sinks, and who catches him? Jesus catches him. We sink and God catches us. We sink and God catches us. Over and over. He catches you. He'll catch you. He'll catch you. He'll restore you. He'll pick you back up. By the way, baby steps, this is how the entire universe works. I'll throw you a bone for the side for some of you nerdy people like me who just like to read interesting things. Go study spiral dynamics. It's how the whole universe works. It's how the whole thing is connected. And what it does is it goes forward and then creeps back a little bit. And then it goes forward and it creeps back just a little bit. I was going to bring you, I started my little pear tree experiment. I took a piece of the pear tree, and I'm trying to grow a little sprouting thing so I can replant a little tree in my backyard. And so I have this little twig and some water, and it's got little buds on it, little cup of water. So if I were to say to you, grow some fruit, what do I tell this little twig? If you were disciplined, if you could really buckle down, if you were committed, all the things that we hear about what we should do to grow fruit in our life, Paul writes, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. This is the stuff we're going after, isn't it? I'm not talking to you guys over here. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. This is the stuff. No, this is the stuff we're going after, isn't it? Isn't it? I mean, we didn't need Paul to tell us, but it's good he did. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. That kind of sums it. That's what you're after. It's fruit. Fruit of the Spirit. Fruit. So how do you get fruit? The problem is we've been trying to shop at spiritual, Joe Randazzo's. Just like, go get some fruit. But you grow it. You grow it. So here's the thing about growing fruit. Here's the thing about growing love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, all the stuff that you want in your life. You want it, you got to grow it. You want it, you got to grow it. You can't annex it, you grow it. How do you grow it? Tell this twig, just stay patient, stay planted. That's it. There's nothing else to do. Stay patient, stay planted. It's going to grow. Next thing you know, there's going to be these little buds are coming up. They're like this big. And tomorrow they'll be that big. Huh? And by Friday they'll be that big. That's it. If you want the real stuff, they're getting what I'm saying? If you want the real stuff. Like the other day, I put chicken on the barbecue, and I was making, Vicki, we were making skewers of chicken, and she started eating it, and she goes, is this real chicken? And I'm like, what kind of a question is that? What kind of question is that? I cut up fake chickens in the backyard? What do you mean? It's chicken. It's chicken. But we have so much fake stuff nowadays, so much processing, everybody's worried now, right? I said, it's chicken, eat it. I don't know. But we're having processed spirituality now. You know what I mean? And if you can ever get it quick, it's the wrong stuff. I guarantee you. Like if you can take one class and you got it, you didn't get it. You got a chicken nugget. That's what you got. Do you know what I mean? It's just, how do things grow? This is how the universe works. This is how the whole thing works. It's just slow. How do I become more loving, more patient? How do I become, just stay planted? What is planted? Connected. Like you can't take it out of the ground, set it on a shelf. You got to be connected to the earth, to the ground, and then the ground's connected to the water. It's all connected. You got to stay planted. You got to stay planted. Remember how last week we said you're not buried, you're planted. You're planted. You have to stay there. Or as said in John's gospel, right? Remain in me and I in you, and you will bear much fruit. But if you get disconnected, you're not going to have fruit. And the other thing is you just got to be patient. Which is why we talk about baby steps. Just be patient. We all should be a little more patient, you know? I think in our society, people are not being patient with each other. Because they aren't nearly as mature as I am. This is our thinking. They don't get it, these people. And there's always this talk, and it's just be patient with them. Because God's patient with you. And be patient with yourself. You're a work in progress. And so you just take one little step. At the beginning of the story, it talks about Peter taking the step out of the boat. Verse 29, he takes the step. And this is the whole thing. You just got to take the very first step. Do you remember the story in Joshua where they're going into the promised land and the priests go and they carry, the ark, and it says as soon as they put their foot in the water, then it stops the flow. This is key. The first step. Just put their foot in. To go get into the promised land, which would be to get to the destination, to get to your goal, to arrive, to have what you're going for, right? Think of that as the goodness, the good life. Think of it as the kingdom of God. Think of it as your destination, the promised land. You've got to put the foot in. Yeah, but don't worry. Just take that step. One step. You know, a lot of people get messed up and tangled up because they worry about too much stuff that's way out of their control anyway. And you should just take the next step. We get too far down the road, we get all kinds of anxiety and burnout and stress. Proverbs, it says, haste leads to poverty. It's true. You get going too fast, and it just all comes unraveled. It's very simple, when you make it. Just take the next step. Take the first step. Take the baby step. You'll fall, you'll trip, of course you will. It's embarrassing. Maybe that's part of our problem. We don't like to be embarrassed, It messes with our bunker. All right, so all of my stories, all I know are like the Trolls and Frozen. That's all I know about anymore. I used to tell stories about football. I don't know anything about football anymore. But I can tell you one little story from Trolls if you want me to. And we'll have the guys come and sing. It'll be even better. But there's this one troll that's full of fear and anxiety. His name's Branch. So the other day we were picking Charlie up from school. She gets to buckle in her seat and she goes, "I'm Princess Poppy." She's like the cool troll with the cool hair, and she's always gets to be Princess Poppy, and I get to be Branch. Daddy, you're Branch, full of fear and anxiety. They're all colorful, and he's gray. The messages are all there if you get them. He's gray. They're all full of color. Their dance, You know the trolls, all they do is dance and sing and hug and dance and sing and hug and sing and hug and dance. That's all they do. And the Branchy doesn't participate. He goes to his bunker so the Bergens don't get him. The Bergens. That's what you guys are worried about too. You got your own bunker. You got your own boat you're hunkered down in, you know? And you don't sing and dance and hug. You don't sing and dance and hug because you're in your bunker. And you're turning gray. You're losing your color. You know? And you need someone to rescue you, to call you out on the water, you know? Like, come on, get out here. Get out here. Take a step. Just take a step. That's the key. Not figuring it all out, just walk by faith, one step. Give us this day our... Just help me with this step. Just help me with this step. Let's stand, we'll have a prayer together. God, just give us the grace today to walk by faith, one step at a time, one day at a time. One baby step, one stumbling step at a time. Call us out of the false security of our boats and our bunkers to the waves and the wind and the water, where the action is, where we can dance and sing and hug, where we can live life to its fullest. Call us there. We thank you. We praise you. In Christ's name, amen.